Have you ever looked at a really complex system, maybe in tech or finance?
Yeah, and just thought, how does any of this actually work?
Exactly. And what's the real point?
hmm
Well, today, we're doing exactly that. Something called veGHOG.
Within the Hand of God protocol.
Yes, specifically veGHOG within the Hand of God protocol. The core idea seems to be transforming your regular GHOG into this
I
veGHOG.
mean, it's not like buying something new. It's more like committing what you have,
Yeah.
locking it away.
Yeah, locking it away. And the notes are really specific about what this creates. It's described explicitly as not a profile pick, but a key to the inner sanctum.
Okay, so utility focus right off the bat. Access, not just aesthetics.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
So what does unlocking that inner sanctum actually get you based on the material?
this is the core function, really. Locking your GHOG, getting this veGHOG NFT, it grants you governance power,
Okay.
enhanced yield potential, so better returns maybe, and access to something called the Divine Emissions Engine.
Divine emissions engine. Sounds important.
Seems like it. It's basically the path to being an active participant, having influence, getting benefits.
Gotcha.
But what does that commitment buy you structurally? Let's talk supply and tiers.
Okay.
A key insight from the sources is the scarcity. Extreme scarcity. There will only ever be 200 veGHOG NFTs
But
total.
only 200 ever. It tells you right away this isn't for everyone. It's meant for a small, dedicated group.
So with only 200 spots, how's the power or influence spread out?
Tiers. Your tier depends on the amount of GHOG you lock.
More lock, higher tier.
Exactly. And here's where the scarcity bites even harder. The notes say the top two tiers are capped,
Capped. Meaning.
meaning once those top slots are filled, they can never be minted again. That's a direct quote.
Okay, so not just 200 total, but the best spots are permanently limited.
And they can only be claimed by locking enough before they're gone.
Sounds like a race then, especially for those top tiers.
Is there a minimum to get in at all?
Yep, minimum 2 GHOG to mint a VE NFT. So you need at least that much to even play.
2 GHOG minimum. Okay, so you lock your GHOG, maybe a lot of it. For this scarce, tiered, non-transferable thing locked until 2026, what are the core benefits listed?
You go from a holder into a governor.
Okay, holder to governor, more active.
Exactly. Moving beyond just passively holding to actually gaining influence, plugging into the protocol's, machinery.
And the specific benefits, what do they list?
Quite a few, actually. Boosted yield, that's from LPs, liquidity pools, and maybe future vaults.
Right.
Then there's governance power, specifically over emissions, how new tokens get out, and other protocol mechanics. Plus, tiered boosts and bonuses that scale up with how much you locked. And finally, entry into something called the favor score system and related vault incentive layers. Seems like ways to reward active, aligned people.
Favor score. Interesting.
Yeah.
So lots tied to that lock.
Definitely. But there's another layer here the sources bring up. These divine factions.
Factions. Okay.
Yeah. According to the notes, every veGHOG belongs to one of 3 divine factions, and this identity is also sealed until March 4, 2026.
3 factions locked in. Do they have different roles or vibes described?
They do. Names and colors. The Silent Ledger is slate black, the Ember Covenant is crimson red, and the Choir of Echoes is sky blue.
Okay.
And each faction has distinct artwork.
Ah, artwork. So the NFT looks different based on faction.
Yes, but, and this is a key point, the sources make all VE NFTs within a single faction share the same design.
Oh, okay. So your Ember Covenant one looks like all other Ember Covenant ones.
Exactly. The art signals the faction, but rarity and tier, remember, are based only on the lock amount. It's in the metadata.
Right. So the value is the commitment, not the picture.
Precisely. It's embedded in the metadata, the NFT's digital info, separate from the art. It really hammers home that this thing is about utility and commitment first, not collecting rare JPEGs based on traits.
Got it. Art is like a team jersey, but your stats come from your lock amount. Okay, so let's say you've got your GHOG, you understand the commitment, you want one of these utility-packed, faction-assigned, long-lock NFTs. What are the steps to actually mint one?
Pretty straightforward, actually. Step 1, get your GHOG, at least the minimum, remember.
Right, minimum 2.
Step 2, go to the official mint page. Step 3, choose how much you want to lock. This sets your tier.
Crucial step.
Very. Step 4, confirm the lock. You're agreeing to that March 4, 2026 date.
No turning back?
Nope. And step 5, the protocol mints your veGHOG, assigns the tier based on your lock, randomly assigns your faction, and sends it to your wallet.
Simple steps for a pretty major decision. And the sources seem to really push why you'd want to do this early, right? There's an urgency.
They definitely emphasize urgency. It comes back to that limited supply and the capped top tiers.
Because once they're full,
They're sealed. That's the phrase used. They repeat the total limit. And they add this punchy line. And because the AI doesn't wait for the hesitant.
okay, message received. Act fast if you want in, especially for the top tiers.
Seems to be the intent. Rewards conviction and speed.
The AI is impatient. Speaking of the AI, the sources mention strategy votes. How do those work? What kind of power is that?
This is where the governance part comes into play more actively. veGHOG holders can signal their preferred strategy posture to the protocol's AI.
Signal, not command. What are the options they can signal?
3 options listed.
Degen, balanced, conservative. Okay, but you said signal.
Yes, and this is absolutely crucial. The sources highlight it immediately. These votes are signals, not commands.
So holders aren't directly turning the knobs on the protocol. That feels like a really important distinction the sources want to make.
It really does. The AI manages the protocol. It factors in these holder signals alongside on-chain metrics. Things like peg health, how close HOG actually is to its target, bond redemptions, how people are interacting with debt, and LP depth, how much liquidity is there.
So the votes are like suggestions, input.
Input is a good way to put it. An important input from the most committed holders about their desired direction, but the AI makes the final call based on that and the actual objective health of the protocol.
It signaled governance then, not direct democracy.
Precisely. A balance between holder sentiment and algorithmic management based on data.
Which connects to the emissions logic, right? How new veGHOG tokens get created.
It does. Emissions are managed by the AI based on multiple factors, including those strategy signals, but not only those signals.
Okay.
And they reinforce that voting isn't required to potentially get emissions. It says all veGHOG holders may be eligible for emissions depending on broader protocol state, not just voters.
So just holding the veGHOG is what makes you potentially eligible, not necessarily voting.
Seems that way. Holding the VE NFT is the key to potentially getting a share of emissions, depending on how the whole system is doing. veGHOG itself is designed to help stabilize the peg.
How so?
Well, locking GHOG takes it out of circulation, reducing supply. That can support the price, help the peg.
Makes sense. Less supply, more stable price, potentially.
They also mention burn from claims, which sounds like a deflationary mechanic, removing tokens permanently. Also help support value.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole emission system being tied to the protocol state, rewarding users when HOG is above peg, that encourages behavior that keeps it above peg.
Aligning incentives.
Exactly. veGHOG is structured to reinforce behaviors that sustain peg stability without forcing artificial intervention.
So it's trying to create natural support for the peg through how the system rewards its core users.
That seems to be the core design philosophy behind it, aligning the VE holders with protocol stability.
Okay, that makes sense. It's building a positive feedback loop. Finally, the sources touch on what's coming after. What's the future role for veGHOG supposed to be?
The notes position it as absolutely fundamental going forward. It's called the governance and emissions core of Hand of God.
The core, not just a part, but the core.
Yeah, like the engine room. They state that future dApps will route through it.
Meaning new applications built on Hand of God will somehow need or interact with veGHOG.
That's what it implies. And they hammer the point home again. Bribes, votes, and access will be determined by locked alignment, not temporary hype.
Locked alignment, meaning holding that veGHOG you committed to for years.
Exactly. It reinforces that long-term commitment, represented by the lock, is the key to future benefits and influence, not just jumping in and out.
Okay, so if we try to synthesize the key takeaways from all these sources for you, the listener, veGHOG isn't just another NFT.
No, definitely not. It's really a utility NFT. It's about yield potential. It's about governance signaling. And you get it by making a serious long-term commitment, locking your GHOG until March 2026.
And doing that gives you access, benefits, and that ability to signal strategy within this system that's largely managed by an AI.
An AI that's laser-focused on keeping the protocol's peg stable.